Sandy-related events in the district, so my apologies. But it's good to be here, and thank you very much for coming, and I want to thank this parish for once again opening up the doors to the community. To be quite honest with you, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be your state senator since 2009. I left the city council not because anyone pushed me to run for state senate, but because on a simple theory that I thought that our district was being heard, and certainly from our state, we weren't getting our fair share of services in the city. We're still not. We're doing a little better. And it was to change an ideology up in Albany, that politics really shouldn't rule the world when it comes to Albany. I always thought politics being first isn't good government. And for those who in the audience who might be fearful of the Democrats taking control of the Senate, I'll be honest with you. You know, it was June 8th, 2009 when we were in control of the Senate. We were doing our work. And the Republicans and two unfortunate Democrats were across the street scheming to get back control of the Senate. And I said to myself, when they did overthrow the Senate and they tried to take control over once again the Republicans and the two Democrats, I thought to myself, why? Why would they do that? Who is it serving? I truly don't believe that, and I have good Republican friends on the other side of the aisle, and I know it wasn't them, but why would Republican leadership at that time do that, to try and take over the Senate and throw the whole state government into turmoil? Did they really have the people's best interest at heart at the time? I don't think so. I don't think so. Both Democrats and Republicans were wrong at that point. But it's not to me who controls the Senate. It's really about doing the right thing by the people. So for me, people first, always. I put the best interest of the people before even my own interest, because I represent people. When I took an oath back in 2009 to be your state senator, it wasn't to advance my principles or to advance what I wanted to do. It's to really be the voice of the people. And when I look at my seat on the Senate floor, and I see that empty chamber chair right in front of my desk, I see 350 or 300,000 people that I represent in that chair. Now, true, they're very small people and they don't talk back, thankfully so. But that's what I see. I see my people there, and I'm their voice. And I have to be their voice because we can't cram millions of people into the Senate chambers. So I'll continue to do that. My work ethic is such that I think that there should be a connection between the elected official and its people. There is no other state senator with 3 district offices, except me. I got 3 district offices. I don't know of another state senator who has a 24-hour live operator service, so that my people have 24-hour access, live access to my office. I just thought there was the right thing to do, to serve the people. And since representing Forest Hills, and again, it's been an honor, to be there when the people need you. From when, in 2010, the macroburst hit our area, to make sure I was here, to make sure the 112th precinct had its resources, to make sure the people understood that their senator was here for them. To make sure that the stores along Austin Street, that we can help them out. Now, we've done something for the small business. We've given a bunch of tax credits, and we try to lower the corporate tax for businesses throughout the state. And we have some more work to do. But it's to be there when I'm needed, to be there when the people need me, to make sure that we can roll back any kind of taxes. And state property tax has been rolled back, and income tax for the state has been rolled back to the lowest levels since 1953. We're doing better as a state since I've gotten elected in 2009. I'm not going to take full credit for it, certainly not. You know, back in 2009 when I first started, there was a governor who didn't want to be governor, Governor Patterson. He went to lunch one day as lieutenant governor, came back as governor. We all remember that story, right? And he was unfortunately the governor when we were facing our worst fiscal situation in decades. And back in 2009 when I was the senator and I just got on board, just became elected, we had a $10 billion deficit. So yes, there were taxes. You raise taxes, nobody gets elected to raise taxes. That's the worst thing in the world to do. It's a last resort. Because you find out when you have a $10 billion deficit, you can't cut your way out of that kind of deficit. Because eventually, you're cutting essential services. You're cutting senior health programs. You're cutting sanitation. You're cutting public safety. You're cutting things that you cannot cut because you have to protect your people. So you raise taxes in an effort to save these services, and you make sure that you raise the taxes to the minimum level, and then when you're able to, you reduce those taxes. Back in 2002, I know there's a mailer out there that I raised taxes in 2002. Yeah, I did. Because the mayor put out a doomsday budget. And he said, if we don't raise taxes, we're going to close firehouses. And ultimately, he closed firehouses anyway. But he closed less, and against our wishes, he closed less because of the fact that we didn't raise taxes to the levels he wanted. But when we raised taxes in 2002, I had the full confidence of my people to do so to save the services that they needed. But when we were able to reduce those taxes, so we did a sunset. So we only raised taxes for 3 years, and then they went back down 3 years later to the levels that they were before, back in 2002. Nobody gets elected to raise taxes, ladies and gentlemen. You do it out of sheer necessity. It's an emergency thing. But again, we've done so much better now that we are a better government that has actually cut wasteful spending. We've actually increased funding for our schools, private schools included. Private schools got $143 million out of the state budget this year. And if the School Safety Bond Act, the Small School Bond Act, passes this in November, we'll get $700 million to the state, to the city schools for technology. We've increased money for education. We've increased money for funding for seniors, saving senior centers, and improving health care for our seniors. So we are a better state than we were back in 2009. But I can't do it alone. I got 3 offices with great staff. And I got, again, people who tell me how they feel. Not that they agree with me all the time. Certainly not. Not that they agree with me. But one thing that comes away from a conversation normally when people don't agree with me is that they were heard. That I heard them. That I gave them the time to hear their point of view and take it into consideration whenever I deal with legislation. So, we may not agree tonight on certain issues. It's okay. I don't agree with my wife on everything. And thankfully, so she still kisses me at night. But that you are heard. And if we leave here disagreeing on an issue, I apologize. But understand the night ends and we go home. And if that unfortunate situation that you have trouble with a public transportation system, or you have a problem with your Medicare, or you have a problem with public safety, or you have a problem even with a pothole or a street light, that you can call me. It's okay we disagree, but understand this. I will always be there. That's my job. And I do it willingly, and I do it with honor. So I thank you very much for listening to me. I thank you very much for giving me the honor and the privilege to represent Forest Hills and the rest of my district. And I look forward to serving you with your support on November 4th, once again in the State Senate. Thank you very much, everybody. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the so-called bylaws.
Yes. Sure.
I think it's totally insane. 100 years ago, men spent their entire life building one of the greatest things. I think it's like the 8th wonder of the world, the
Right.
train system. And especially in this day and age when fuel is so precious and we fight with other people over oil and gas.
Right.
And to turn a subway or a train into a park, I think it's insane. I don't know how anybody could possibly have thought of it.
Here's the thing. I like to look at the Queensway as a big picture. I think the only elected official that has the entire stretch of the Queensway in their district. So from the southern part to the northern part. There's public safety issues here. There's multiple police precincts that still have to be spoken to about how they're going to address the public safety issue should the Queensway ever open. There's an issue about giving the property to the Parks Department. The Parks Department has a hard enough time maintaining the current green space that it has, both budgetarily and maintenance-wise, and this Queensway would become Parks property. So they would have an issue. There are about 100 businesses or so that are underneath the High Line that could be in jeopardy of being kicked out. Now these are good businesses who employ good people who just try to provide for their families, and I can't have them kicked out. So I have... Because of the changes that would take place underneath the trestle. My guess is those who are in favor of the Queensway don't want an auto body shop, they want a Starbucks. So I have an issue, multiple issues with the Queensway. I've spoken to the MTA, who unfortunately are not willing to consider opening up the rail line as a train. And I've also spoken to the residents who the train goes right through their backyard and they don't want to see it touched at all. My plan has been in parts where we can grab community consensus, because I like to listen to people, I like to lead by listening, We could probably find sections of the Queensway that would serve the public well and be safer to maintain. We could probably find areas that can be left alone and protect the backyard and quiet peace and enjoyment for those residents. And maybe we can even talk to the MTA about, if not including a portion of the rail, certainly increasing bus traffic to improve transportation. And we've always constantly implored upon our mayor to keep the ferry down in Rockland. So I think we're years away from ironing out those issues with the Queensway at this point.
That's you, because you want to sit here.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Oh, do you need this?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'll recognize the question. Sure. If you guys would want to sit up here, you know, we.
I think he's safe to see one.
Yeah, thanks.
No, I mean,
Telephone book?
well, we want to move on to a bunch of questions, so I
Yeah, she had a
think.
question for Queensway, shouldn't he?
Didn't answer it.
Did you want to respond to that?
All the questions will be proposed.
With respect to that issue, and again, from what I've looked at, even if it were to be considered to be utilized as a railway again, the red tape and money it would cost would take way too long. The concern right now is to keep the ferry funded, first of all, for starters, before we look at anything else. And then I would want to see in a review of what businesses are in the area, how it would affect those businesses, and then I would want to take an evaluation of that and then use that information to give you a better answer, because you're going to have your pros and cons, but as I said earlier, what I'd like to do is have more of a consensus of what the people and the business owners have to say about that issue, so I can better evaluate it. But the first concern right now would be, let's concentrate on making sure that that ferry doesn't get defunded at the end of the month. Is there a...
Okay, next question.